Hello, my name is Nare Setanyan, and today I will be interviewing my aunt, Liana, and asking her questions about her family's intentions, thought process, and experiences in regards to moving to the United States. This interview is being conducted on March 19th, 2023, and we are currently in North Hollywood, Los Angeles. Liana, thank you so much for joining me today. If you could please introduce yourself and describe what your current profession is, as well as how you got into it.
Hi Nora, thank you so much for deciding to share my story. My name is Liana Jermakyan and I currently own my own flower shop and event planning company. And I did not always want to become a florist. Before I left my homeland, I was studying to become a film writer or a producer in Armenia's top film industry. After I found out that I was leaving behind my dream profession, friends, and everything I knew, I began to think of potential career paths and what was possible for me in a country where I did not know the language, lifestyle, or culture. I started studying to become a florist. It was more of a hobby at the time, but knowing that I'm moving to a country where the film industry wouldn't bring me much success, the florist was the one option I had to pursue. And
And how old were you when your family came to the United States? Can you also elaborate on your experience and your family's true goals?
wow, I was just about 19 years old when my family and I immigrated here, and now that I think about it, I was just a kid. And at the time, I felt like I had my entire life together and knew exactly how everything was going to play out. But back then, I didn't really know anything. I had no idea I would be living in a completely different life 20 years later. My family's main reason for choosing to immigrate was to provide my sister and our future kids better education and a career opportunity. Modern day Armenia is very different from what it is back then, and no one knew what the future would look like and if we would end up becoming successful. So once my family and I moved to this new country, it was very foreign for us, and we didn't know the language, and it was very hard to fit in. And at the time, my cousins gave us a job, and I started to work at a supermarket in the flower department. I worked at many supermarkets, and I worked my way up. I started to learn the language on my own. I did not go to college at the time, and I already knew the language once I started going to a community college. But most of my education came from this job, and I learned more about the lifestyle of this foreign country, and I learned the language very quickly.
You mentioned your cousins giving you a job in a way to help you out when you were just getting started. Can you talk about some of the things that made it easier for you to transition? What helped you learn the language? What helped you immerse yourself in this new environment?
So when I moved here, my cousins from my father's side were already living here for much longer time, and knew the way around, and knew what supermarkets were hiring because I didn't know the language, and they were the ones who gave me this opportunity. And it was much easier for me to work in an environment where not I wasn't the only one who didn't know the language, and there were so many people helping out, and everyone was just so nice. When I was working there, everyone would translate for me. They would tell me what means what, and the main it was just much easier for me to learn at the supermarkets and this new job.
Mm-hmm. And can you also compare your family's living conditions in the United States compared to what it was like in Armenia? And uh, even considering those conditions, would you have wanted it any other way?
Well, of course, whenever we first moved to America, our living conditions and our lifestyle was much different from what it was back in Armenia. We were living much better there. We had our own house, our own home, and when we moved to America, we were living with my uncle's family, and after a while, we decided to get our own place, and it was much different, but a lot better eventually.
Yes, eventually. Thank you so much, Liana, for sharing your story.
Thank you, Nada, for having me.